What you're witnessing is the horror of the fact that we're already halfway there in terms of losing everything. We've been infiltrated. They've taken over our media. They've taken over most of our social media. Thank God we got X back. Thank you, Elon, for being a good American. They've taken over our big business. They've taken over our schools from K all the way through. They've taken over the Catholic Church, for God's sakes. They've taken so much, and they're in place. So this may be part of what you're noticing and seeing, because they've also infiltrated, especially under Biden, the judiciary.
Yes, exactly.
So one of the first things that needs to be done on the judiciary is to honor Donald Trump's edict. Okay, when he gives an order, he gives an executive order. The Department of Justice needs to do what it's told to do. Okay. Yes, we don't follow illegal order, okay, from the president or anybody else. But that doesn't mean we don't follow proper orders. Look, first of all, I'm not worried about President Trump giving any illegal orders. President Trump doesn't do illegal things. How do I know that? Okay.
You're his lawyer.
Well, yes, but he doesn't confide everything to me. Remember Strzok and Page?
Page, yeah.
Right. Remember, he wrote about the fact that there's an insurance policy. What was that insurance policy? That insurance policy was the fact that they were going to have a special counsel appointed, which they were able to do. And they knew that that would be the end of Donald Trump, because you see, well, in the words of George Bernard Shaw, the punishment of a liar is not in the least that he cannot be believed, but rather that he cannot believe others. So these lying scumbags, I'm sorry, I know that's an insult to all scumbags, but and I apologize to the scumbags of the world for comparing them to people like Strzok and Page, but these lying scumbags, they basically figured Donald Trump would be caught in his criminal activities because they knew that he would have had to have conducted criminal activities because he's rich and because everybody does, because they are like the liar that cannot believe anybody because they see the world through their own prism.
Yes.
So they figured that they had an insurance policy because if you put a special prosecutor on Donald Trump, you're going to find his criminality. And they spent $30 million. And these are people that are driven. They would have done it for free. Eisman and so on. I mean, there's no question about, how much they hate Donald Trump and wanted to get him. And they spent $30 million looking for any crime. They weren't looking for Russian collusion. They knew that was fake. So they were looking for real crimes. And guess what? They didn't find any real crimes. They didn't find real crimes because the man is that honest. I mean, how many millionaires or billionaires you think could pass that test? And Donald Trump,
very few.
No, and you got to give him credit for what he's accomplished in that regard.
That's right.
I mean, to have gotten to the level in life that he has and doing it all, coloring between the lines, staying with.
Yes.
Amazing. What an amazing man he is. I mean, I've known him since we were 15. Well, we were classmates at New York Military Academy and friends. We were best friends in our senior year. And I always knew he was really smart and really bright. I mean, we competed for marks. And we each got into the college of our choice, let's put it that way. I always knew he was smart, but I didn't know he was as smart as what I'm seeing in terms of the way he's doing so much of what he does in his presidency. But to answer your question, to get to where you were asking me about judges. And there are many of them that are in favor of the insurrection and assisting and helping in the insurrection. Now, when I speak of judges, I don't want to speak in generalities without saying that most judges that I know are some of the most wonderful people on the planet. They do a tough job calling balls and strikes. But like I'm in Palm Beach County and Broward County, Florida, our bench is like wonderful, especially in the state court. I mean, we do have some people that are in the federal court that aren't the best, that are one-sided, like the judge that we had in Trump versus Clinton.
Yeah, in the federal court.
In the federal court, yeah. Some of them in the federal court are problematic. We have a number of them in the middle district that are problematic and need to be looked at.
Boasberg comes to mind.
Rosenberg, Robin.
No, Bose.
Oh, Boasberg.
Yes.
Yeah, Robin Rosenberg is a true patriot.
No.
Yeah.
Boasberg, who we couldn't establish. We looked into. We couldn't establish if he was even in the United States legally. We tried.
No. People like him. Those are the ones I'm talking about, not the people, the normal judges that we're in front of. in both state courts and so on, unless the state has been captured, like Colorado, where we've got
Yes.
judges there that are just horrendous. But if we're talking about the federal courts, these judges need to be looked at. They need to be brought in. They need to be questioned, and some of them need to be charged with aiding and abetting the insurrection, because that's what they're doing.
Yes.
And I think that once we start charging some judges with this, I think the rest of them are going to start realizing what the heck they're doing, and they're going to smarten up, and they're going to do right. Also, we need to look at all the appointments. Donald Trump made an order that basically he at least announced that any auto pen orders are no longer viable, no longer in effect. And so each of the appointments of all of the Biden appointee judges then were done by the auto pen. Probably weren't even done by him at all, considering
right.
that, I mean, he's a man that, you could almost say he doesn't mind, okay, because he has none, sorry, and it may sound like an unkind joke, but the fact of the matter is he didn't have the mind to make the appointments, and if the auto pen did it, somebody was committing a crime, and nobody's looking at that either. I mean, I haven't heard anything. I can't say nobody's looking at it. It's possible that it's being looked at. And, Todd Blanche doesn't call me and say, by the way, Peter, I want you to know we're looking at this.
Right.
So it's possible that they are, but why is nothing coming out about it?
Yeah, I'm as frustrated as you also, in so much that we served the U.S. Attorney Graves with evidence, a writ quo warranto, that demonstrated that effectively the entire Biden administration, the cabinet on down, had either defective or non-existent oaths of office, written sworn oaths of office. They're required to have them. The statutes 5 U.S.C. 3331 and 3332, and none of them complied. In the case of Alejandro Mayorkas, the guy that welded open the border gates, he didn't bother to do any oath, written or oral. And yet this is the guy that floods our country with as many as 30 million people, as I understand, came across on borders. So the criminality is there, Peter, and this is the whole point. And one of the reasons I'm so glad to have you here is that it takes a bold person like yourself to not only say, yeah, conspiracies exist, but to actually say, look, we've got to do something about this, because you're the only guy I know, the only guy I've heard saying we actually have to clean house. I mean, people are desperate for a reckoning on so many levels, but within our own government, you've identified them. It's what I call the permanent bureaucracy, right? Presidents come, presidents go. But we've been on this march towards this single market economy, the Soviet model economy, for decades. And we don't stop that by actually holding people accountable. There is nothing to stop them. To your words, we're in a do or die. They don't care anymore. They got nothing to lose. And we have everything to lose: our country, our lives, the future of our children. But I'm not sure people actually get that.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. For instance, even January 6th, okay, we know that the 2020 election was rigged, and we know that for years our country was literally stolen from us in this way.
Literally.
And we also know what happened on January 6th. There's so many senators, I'm hoping to get confirmation. One of the things I'm lucky about is that I just didn't get into defending any J6ers in terms of the criminal charges against them. But at the same time, I've helped some in regard to pardon work. But I think that I need to be able to show the different senators, if they're being honest and they're being right, they have a certain impression of what occurred. And we have videotapes of the meetings that occurred well ahead of the election, where members of the Homeland Security, other departments, and NGOs basically planned January 6th in advance. It's the same. It's the same effort as the election. If you're not stealing the election, you didn't need to plan January 6th. If you weren't, anyway, so January 6th, we've got videotapes of them on their Zoom meetings where they're committing